Everything set up, gentlemen?
Just about.
Lights, cameras, act!
Hello everybody, and welcome to the 70mm Mindset. I'm Nathan Mathews, joined here by Nathan Culli, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker. This thing, if you can, I'm not sure if we can call it a movie, but I hate it. That's all I have to say.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty good way to start. I mean, like, calling this a script, calling this a film is being generous. I would say there's just so much that piles up that just you really wonder what was going through the writers' minds while they were making this. And Last Jedi was one thing where there were many story elements that didn't make sense, but a few that were like sensical, but maybe were a little bit offensive or betrayed the franchise a little bit. This one is just straight up nonsense. Basically throughout the entire thing, I think I can name like one or two moments in the script that are solid, and they're super small. So I guess we can start by saying the few things that we liked that we found to be enjoyable.
I'm actually really curious to hear what you would find solid in it, because I hardly found anything.
I mean, me too. I can literally think of one thing and a couple comedic moments that were okay.
All right.
At least talking about the script. So the one script moment that I think works well, on Pasana in the third desert planet of the trilogy or whatever.
I've got something to say on that in a minute.
Yeah, BB-8 is going through the town with the rest of the crew or whatever, and he sees this can that is leaking this yellow gas, and then so he glances at that, and then 5 or 10 minutes later, whenever they're being chased by the First Order, he sees another can that has that yellow gas leaking from it. So he uses it, pokes it to distract the First Order. That's the only moment of cause and effect that I can point out in this.
The only logical plot progression is BB-8 throwing a can at some stormtroopers.
Yeah, I mean, unironically, that might actually be true.
That tells you a lot about this movie. If that's the only good you can find in the... My issue with the whole thing, we'll talk about what little good there is in a minute, but my main issue with the plot in this movie is everything progresses in such a way that it feels like they didn't think about anything. I think they wrote the movie on the set. So basically they came up with okay, so they're here now, and we're just going to have them explore the set, see what they find, all of that jazz. And it just had no... It felt like it was written by a toddler. That's what it feels like. Just everything over here now, and then we find this thing, and it tells us to go here, and we hold up the knife to the Death Star, and it shows us where the thing is.
Yeah. I guess another thing we can point out as good is obviously all the cinematography, like The Last Jedi. I mean, all of that holds
as
up
always.
Well. Yeah,
it's
that's expected.
It's like a dramatization of Tenet. Like you said, Tenet was focused more on spectacle than character development. This is
this
that times 10.
1,000.
All these amazing scenes, Palpatine literally shooting lightning at everything. That was insane. I loved that. The moment where Rey did the backflip, other than the fact they had 2 cuts in the backflip scene, that was actually pretty cool. But I guess that's kind of a con, the fact that they have to have 2 cuts and the awesome backflip. If that was one continuous shot, that would have been beautiful.
I mean, that would have been a really cool stunt, yeah. But, I mean, and the whole first opening scene on Mustafar, if you knew that was Mustafar, it all looks, really intimidating and stuff, but, I mean, I just don't feel compelled to go into detail complimenting that because that's just expected with the budget that Disney has, and there's just so many script problems that I like. It's just whatever. Like, yeah, it looks good. Let's move on. Like,
Yeah. On the note, I think I mentioned this, but desert planets. As a desert dweller myself, I can say that I of all people should be the most annoyed that Star Wars universe consists of three kinds of planets: cold planets with snow and ice and whatnot, forest planets that are forests, and desert planets. Why are all the planets one biome, you might ask? No one knows. Why are there only three types of planets? No one knows. They they kind of worked in the original trilogy because they hadn't done these things before. And the fact that they keep bringing back Tatooine, they keep bringing back Jakku. They go to Tatooine / Jakku Part 2 in this movie.
Asana, yeah.
Yeah, it's all just... I see deserts enough in real life. I don't need to see any more deserts. I'm tired of it.
I mean, I guess you could say that Rise of Skywalker did add Exegol, which is like, I mean,
what even is it? It's just like a Sith place. Like,
oh yeah, it's a creepy Sith place with lightning that gave epilepsy warnings to the movie, so that was a smart decision. But
and then like just the giant coliseum of cult people that's there for no reason.
Yeah, I don't even know what those are. Like,
where'd they come from?
Sith? Are they just Sith loyalists? Are they the ones that built the Star? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
They're just chilling. I mean, they don't really do anything.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else good that you liked? Because I've got like one or two more that I can think of, but
like there was like one moment, I can't remember the specifics, but C-3PO actually said something funny. The rest of the movie he's just an annoying burden, but he said like one funny, I can't remember the specifics, but it was like when they were on the desert planet, C-3PO said
one of the ones I was going to point out on the desert planet was when Poe was asking everyone if they were okay, and he doesn't ask 3PO, and 3PO's like, "You didn't say my name, sir, but I'm all right."
Yeah, like C-3PO finally acknowledges how no one cares about him. Like, that's kind of been the case for all. I think he's in every movie, but like for all 9 movies, that's kind of been the case. And he finally comes to this like really like self-conscious kind of ironic realization that no one really does care about C-3PO, and he just accepted that. And there's a mixture of like funny and sad at the same time. And I don't feel bad for him because he's a robot, but still.
Yeah, true. And then that also comes into play. Oh, yeah, one of the other script elements that I liked, where the characters need 3PO to wipe his memory to be able to translate the message or whatever. There's so much writing problems behind that. But the one thing that's good is they say, "You know the odds better than any of us." And they appeal to what 3PO is best at to try and convince him to do something that is hard for him. Like, okay, there's some good writing there.
And then they did I'm taking one last look at my friends. They did that just so they could put that in the trailer. And
my friends
clickbait everyone into watching the movie. Like
my friends that I've spent 10 minutes of screen time with. Like, yeah, okay. I don't buy
just to add clickbait, just to get people to see the movie. They did that.
And yeah, there wasn't a single original trilogy character in the room when he said that. Just ugh. Yeah. And then one last good moment when Chewie is really sad about Leia's death. I thought that was effective.
Yeah, because Chewie's the only one that really, really would care. I mean, like,
yeah,
because Chewie's like, I think they mentioned that he's like over 200 years old. Like,
like
he's been a part of it since the beginning. Yeah.
And all of his friends are dead. Like, it's so sad.
Oh, Chewie's got the Chewie. We should have a Chewie arc. Like, we never get subtitles for Chewie, which is sad because I'd actually like to hear that at some point.
That would be interesting. There were probably some funny videos out there that.
Oh no, I bet there is now. But like,
check those out.
There's characters like Chewie and like the R2 droids BB-8. Like, you get to figure out for yourself, like, just implied what they say based on other characters' reactions.
Yeah.
Like, it's like C-3PO will say, "R2, watch your language," or something like that. Like, we just get those little hints, but that's about it. And it makes it impossible to really build like a deep character, but we don't really need a deep character most of the time, so.
Yeah, he's pretty much just a sidekick. So I guess we can get into just a chronological run through of all the crap in this thing.
Yeah, well, I think we really start running into problems with just the whole premise of like the call to adventure. Just like we gotta go look for this thing that will tell us how to find another thing that will get us to this one place, and we can stop something bad happening at this place. That's such a
Can I start even
lame
earlier?
cookie cutter. Oh yeah, go ahead.
The first three words of the opening crawl. The dead speak.
Exclamation point.
Oh man. So
this opening crawl is the worst one out of all of them. I think.
definitely.
Emperor Palpatine is back in a surprise move. No one saw this coming.
How do they explain it?
He was a voice.
The dark side of the Force is the pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Yep. This movie, it does the best job. It all of the ways that you can, all the flaws that you can find in this movie, the characters say it all. Mainly Finn. Like, he says like, "No idea, follow me." At one point, like one of the characters, I was like, "Do you know where you're going?" He's like, "Nope, no idea, follow me." Like that was. That sums up the movie perfectly, I think.
Well, yeah, and then they just do things based on, literally, to quote them, a feeling, multiple times. Yeah. Like that's just what drives the characters to do their.
It's like, I think we should go to that ship. I just have a feeling.
Oh man, I mean, and with that moment, like they didn't even have to say, like he didn't have to have a feeling. He could have just noticed that is the only ship with an antenna on it. But whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why make sense?
But the Force.
Oh man, the Force gets absolutely abused in this movie. It's ruined.
What is the Force? Like, you can suddenly tell people's lineages? Like, Leia knew that Rey was a Palpatine or something?
I will tell you what it is. It is the scriptwriter's best friend.
Ah, you see.
And that's about it.
When you dig yourself into a hole, come up with some supernatural power that can get you out of any situation.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did Finn and the other troopers escape their... time in the First Order? The Force. The Force, they gave them a feeling.
It guided them.
How did Rey know to go and find Chewie's stuff? She had a feeling. Like, yeah, it's... How did Rey manage to resurrect Kylo Ren and get them out of the sand pit with the sandworm? The Force.
The Force is like a really good idea the way that Luke puts it in whatever the eighth one's called, The Last Jedi. Then in this movie, it's just magic for no reason. Like Luke actually like outlines some boundaries, like some of the ways that the Force works, and Luke's like little monologue about the Force in The Last Jedi is like one of my favorite like Star Wars moments, especially in that movie. And then they throw that all away for this movie for just magic. But
yeah. So we haven't been going very chronological, but. I guess we could do...
I don't think we really need to go chronological, but yeah.
Well, that might just... like, there's just like such a high frequency that maybe it would be easier to go that.
Yeah.
But, so, opening scene on Mustafar already got a lot of problems. There's the magical triangle that tells you where to go. That's just chilling on this planet.
As absurd as that sounds, it's like so true. The fact that it's just a magic triangle that just tells you, like,
yeah. And apparently that was Darth Vader's, and that's apparently the ruins of his castle that Kylo's at.
Sure, that would have been cool to hear about that.
Like, I know, it would have been cool to maybe see that.
We see Kylo fighting people for no reason on it, but that's about it.
Yeah, like why are these people defending it? Why do they have a stake in this?
Kylo to make Kylo look cool, I guess he's got to be fighting someone. It can't look too.
Oh yeah, and it looks really cool when he moonwalks a lightsaber stab into someone's back.
like we said, it's focused on spectacle instead of actual.
Very much so.
Logic.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I just saw the moonwalk. Oh my gosh, like. There was a lot that was cut from this. Like, this scene, I think, was like 5 minutes longer or something. Because there was, like, so many production issues with this movie. And I know this scene was originally a lot longer, so maybe there were some explanations that were cut, but with what we have, it's just like, okay, we have a magical triangle, now we need to go do something with it.
Like this movie might have been a little better if like it pains me to say this, but if it was longer, it might have been better.
For sure.
It's already a
Dude,
super long movie, and I had a hard time not falling asleep watching it again because once you watch it once, but yeah, it could have benefited if they just like embraced it, like 2.5 hours is kind of long, but it would have been worth it if they didn't make such a boring script for it, like. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's one spot where I might disagree. I don't find this movie boring. I find it absolutely hilarious to watch, and like it just goes so fast. Like there is no time for any consideration or deliberation through any characters. It's just action, 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 action. Do not think about the plot. Do not think about the plot.
See, I find it boring for that exact reason because it's just them fighting people for however long. I mean, like.
Yeah,
we're on this planet, and then this planet, and then he was a spice runner. Haha, drugs. That's funny. And then next scene, like.
That's a really good summary of that arc. Yeah, like. So we get to Exegol, and he and Kylo has to maneuver through these. Someone called it space cancer. I think that's a good way to put it. He just has to maneuver through all these like torrential clouds and stuff, and then we see him come out. Like that is supposed to be the only way to get to the planet, right? And then we see him come out, and everything surrounding, like there's that one spot where he comes out of, and then the rest of it is just open space, and that is a big deal. That is a big deal because that space cancer is what is supposed to make the fleet at the end not able to leave because it's so difficult to navigate. But there is just
that might have been interesting.
I mean, yeah, that too. There's just so much open space that you can just fly around it. I don't know why they put that in there. It's really strange. And then I guess we should talk about Palpatine coming back. Just
I think like it was just like they dig themselves into a hole here. Like, you know what? We've had an antagonist. It's kind of been the same overarching antagonist for the last two trilogies. I think we're going to change it up. And this time, he's going to be, like, the same antagonist, but he's more evil now. So that's all we need to do. Like,
yeah, but never mind how he came back. Never mind the effects this has on the actions that our characters did in the original trilogy. Never mind the fact that the second Death Star was absolutely incinerated and blown up into tiny little shreds of metal. How did he survive?
The dark side has many powers that many
considered unnatural.
Unnatural, yes. Yeah.
Oh, and then we see that he has the pickle, like all the Snokes in
the Snokes in a jar.
Yeah, he's just farming Snokes. So apparently he made Snoke had controlled him from the. Okay, like
that's why his character design was so lame, because Palpatine didn't have much to work with other than what's left of his face.
Yeah, I mean, if Palpatine was alive this whole time, like, why did he need someone else to run the First Order? Why didn't he just run the First Order from the shadows? I don't know. Why would he trust Kylo if Kylo was the one that killed Snoke, who was also Palpatine? Ugh.
What about like Rey's thing? Like that could have been a cool moment. She's like meditating, like floating in the air with the rocks, and she's like, "Nah, I don't feel it." Like, what?
Of course,
that's such like a cheesy like. Well, I don't have a problem with her like meditating in the air, but then she's just like, no, they're not with me. Like,
also, yeah, why is that her focus? Why is she trying to connect with the Jedi when there is a giant army that is trying to destroy 400 people?
Mm-hmm.
Like
probably just so we could have a cool intro, because like I feel like Rey just running an obstacle course for no reason would be a very interesting start. But then her meditating and then just like giving up isn't very interesting either. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, and then her being able to float there presents so many problems. Like there are so many times where she would want to fly or make herself fly that would make the plot speed up much faster and make things much easier for her and the heroes. But never mind that. It's a cool visual in the moment, so we're gonna do it.
I think there's actually an explanation for that. Like the way that Jedi can kind of like force jump, they can't really like fly. Like she was like sitting there like focusing very intently. Like she was like basically meditating, and I think that was the reason. Like the reason like Luke was kind of floating above his chair when he was like doing his like projection. Like that's kind of the same logic. Like when you're that deep in forced concentration, you just kind of float, you know. But it doesn't make sense, but it's at least consistent.
I guess, yeah. I mean, how I just hate how she does it so casually, and then she does the backflip down after breaking concentration. Like she's so powerful, and
we're gonna find an explanation for that. And this is a segue into how the trilogy was all very very disjointedly like written. You know what? She's a Palpatine, and basically Rian Johnson threw away. I'm sure J.J. Abrams had that idea as the explanation for why she's so overpowered. And then Rian Johnson's like, "Oh yeah, they're nobodies." And then I don't even remember who directed this one. It's just like
this was JJ.
It was JJ. So JJ tried to continue the.
He got fired.
Yeah, he tried to continue the same old. Oh yeah, her parents are important thing. After Ryan tossed it down the drain, and then they just pulled the like, oh yeah, they wanted to protect you, so yeah, they were nobodies, except they weren't nobodies, so we're just gonna.
Yeah, Kylo's like, I never lied to you. They made themselves nobody. Well, first of all, the son of Palpatine is not a nobody. I'm sorry. Second of all, Kylo.
Wait, son of Palpatine? Why is there a son of Palpatine? Nope.
I mean, yeah, that's another good point. Like, how on earth? Like, when did she find time to do that? Like, okay. But then the novelization says that Palpatine is a clone, and then Palpatine's son is like a failed clone of him or whatever. And
if he's failed, then why does his daughter have Force powers?
Yeah, recessive genes, I guess. Who knows? Oh man,
It feels like a fan fiction. This is all just a big fan fiction.
Yeah,
they're just gonna write the entire trilogy off as a fan fiction, so they can just follow a new like storyline, just a new parallel universe after the 6 movies, so they can actually write some good.
I want them to do that.
Stories.
But
that'd be cool.
I think the
they would
Mandalorian
never do that,
is carrying into this trilogy. That's what it seems like. So I don't think this is going anywhere.
With the whole like Luke, like getting Grogu thing, that's like his like temple. But then they have to deal with Kylo killing Grogu, and they can't have that because Disney. So
yeah. But back to Rey's character, it's so weird the way they treat her parentage throughout these 3 movies. So in The Force Awakens, it's like, your parents aren't going to come back, but they don't matter. You can find identity with someone else. Second movie, your parents matter, but they were nobody, and so now you are going to cry because they are nobody. Third movie, your parents aren't nobody, because they made themselves nobody. You are the grandchild of the most evil man in the universe 30 years ago. But you don't have to take meaning in that. You can find meaning somewhere else in what you do. The same message we had in episode 7. And then they don't actually give her any character because they focus on her backstory throughout the entire trilogy.
She had some character in the 8th movie, but
a little bit, but not much.
I feel like this is going to be more of a trilogy review than just a 9th movie review.
It's kind of prompts some retrospecting on just how they concluded everything or how they tried to. So,
like The Force Awakens, it was like an okay setup for a couple things. Like it was awkward at points, but it had something to work with. And like The Last Jedi was like actually like legitimately good in a couple spots, and then like everyone's incompetent, so it just threw the rest of that down the drain. And then Rise of Skywalker, it was just like a poorly, quickly, frantically written fan fiction that has no logical like plot progression or character development whatsoever, and it's just painful to watch.
Yeah, and I guess if we're going to talk about TLJ, the retcons in this movie, JJ must have hated The Last Jedi because
they just backtracked on so many things. Like
Kylo's helmet, the Skywalker lightsaber that gets repaired. Rey's parentage being switched up. Luke regretting what he did in Episode 8. I'm sure there are a couple more. The Knights of Ren being brought back when Ryan completely ignored them. It's been rumored that JJ hated TLJ, and man, I just wonder what Ryan thought.
They should have just had JJ write the entire trilogy. Then it would have been somewhat cohesive. Like, I see them wanting to give like Rian Johnson a chance. Like, I don't think he'd really done that much significant in the past, but like,
I mean, they were gonna do 3 different directors originally. Like, Colin Trevorrow was first set to do Episode 9, and then he got fired after writing a full script. Which the full script is actually out there; you can find it, and it's a better script than Rise of Skywalker. But
how do you fire someone after they do the like?
I don't.
Then they had the script. Just fire him after he did the thing, and then just get a different director.
Because it's Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm. They don't know what they're doing. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, JJ was like, "What do you do with Episode 9? Like, you have 7 and then 8, which are almost like two. The 2 movies are like against each other. Like the 2 movies hate each other, and then you have to find a way to unify those 2 movies that contradict each other in so many ways. Like, I mean, I feel bad for JJ. Like he had a really, really tough task, and apparently there was a lot of studio meddling that took place. Like, he wanted this movie to be 3+ hours, just because he had to explain so much. And Disney wouldn't let that happen. They made him cut a bunch of scenes that he wanted kept in, and then rumor has it, like, he wasn't even happy with the final result of the film.
Yeah, that's. I think that explains like the whole trilogy is just like Disney's fault. Like, I'm sure JJ could have made a good story on his own. I'm sure even Ryan could have made a good story on his own, but then Disney just messes everything up. And Disney's able to keep really good cohesive franchises with the MCU. We see that. Mando, we see that. Though you might not agree with me there.
No, definitely.
But it's so Disney can like back meaningful stuff. It's just when you have 2 forces that are so like powerful trying to compete for their final say, and you end up getting like a middle ground that doesn't commit to anything, it's just hot garbage, like utter trash. Like I don't even know how to like explain how they ended up with something this bad when they had this many like good people working on it. Like,
it's mind-boggling how a company screws this up so bad. Like, I don't think anyone would have anticipated that it would be this bad. Even after Force Awakens. Because there were some people that hated the Force Awakens when it first came out. I don't think even they could have known what was in store for this. So
I have an abrupt transition idea. I want to talk about situational irony and Chewie and Hux a little bit. Chewie being on the ship and then Rey lightninging it and then lightninging. We should add that to the dictionary. Lightninging.
Yeah, let's do it.
Lightninging. And then it's Chewie's not on that ship. He's fine 30 seconds later. Why didn't we like have a little bit more of like a like surprise reveal so we're surprised as the characters, not like a like situationally ironic like the audience knows Chewie's fine, but the characters, we get to watch them in their despair, and they're like, for Chewie, we'll do it for Chewie. They did that just so they could have the for Chewie thing, instead of like waiting to tell the audience that Chewie's alive. Or maybe just like considering not doing a fake out with killing Chewie in the first place, because that's just dumb.
I think the fake out was a bad
save all of it. Like, Chewie goes out for some reason, and then, he's captured. Like, they could have just easily not done that. Just have like a little like gunfight with the First Order people instead of like Chewie being captured. They could have done the exact same thing and it wouldn't have made a major difference other than getting rid of this whole issue of for Chewie, and we'll do it for Chewie who's actually alive.
Yeah, because he goes out after Rey, but he goes the complete opposite direction that she went. and then gets captured. It's like that whole scene might, oh my gosh, it might be the worst scene in the entire film, but like the whole just landscaping of that scene. So you have like the rock that the Falcon is on, and then Rey goes off in one direction. Chewie is sent to find her, and for some reason he takes a dagger with him instead of leaving it on the ship. That's another thing. That's just so that they can draw the heroes to the Star Destroyer. But so you have the Falcon on the rock. Rey goes one way. Chewie goes after her, but he goes a different way. Gets caught. Finn goes out after Rey, and then sees Chewie get caught. Like all of that is just garbage because Chewie should have been able to just follow Rey's footsteps. It's not hard at all. Like they're in the
and like the whole progression of them like getting the ship running, like Poe's like, all right, Finn, fix this, and like Finn gets on it, and he's like also like, go find Chewie, and then like Finn like tells like Chewie go do this, and then like Rey's like, oh, go save Chewie. Like it's just this awkward chain of nothing. Like they just have to make up excuses for the characters to be like preoccupied with something.
And then the fact that I don't believe that ship runs. It's been like 20 years. I don't buy it. I don't buy that thing hasn't been like.
And it's been sitting on a rock and like on a pedestal, and no one's come and stolen it before. Like, and that happens to be the ship that like had that Rey's parents were taken on, and Lando happens to be there. Don't forget, he's there for about 45 seconds, then he's gone.
Yeah,
nothing makes sense. They're just like, oh, let's do this. It'll be cool. Nothing.
Because, let's see, how do they get to that ship? They find Lando. How do they find Lando? They go to this random desert that has a festival that goes on every 42 years. First of all, that is like absolutely astronomically insane odds that festival would be happening. But
like, assuming that Star Wars odds or Star Wars years are the same as our years, we got like 42 times like 350. We'll round a little bit, 40 to 350. That's like let's do the very fast math. I'm gonna say like every 16,000. Yeah, you probably have
about 15,000.
15,000. I was pretty close. One in as C-3PO should have said, like, that's a 1 in 15,000 chance. Like that would have actually been a like kind of self-conscious like moment, and that might have been interesting. Probably wouldn't have, but they could have tried. I don't know.
Well, but it references the release of A New Hope because it was 42 years ago. Like okay, fine, but it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So then they get to that festival. How do they get to that festival? Well, it's Luke wrote in the Sacred Jedi text about another one of those magical triangles that he was searching for on that planet, and then his search came up short. So how do they find out about Luke's writings? Well, Rey happens to flip to that page right before they need to find out how to find the magical triangle.
Coincidence? I think so.
It's so coincidental. Like, and why did Luke give up on it?
The thing was there, just like
he was right by.
Just go fall into the quick rock.
Exactly.
Not quicksand, it was like quick rock.
I don't even know. Because like surely he could have sensed that Sith knife. Rey was able to sense it, so I would expect him to be able to sense it as well. And then they're on that ship and they see this droid. It's a Sith droid. Like, did Luke and Lando just not think to do anything with that? Because that thing has almost everything they need. Like, it has the readouts of Exegol and everything, how to get there. Like,
all right, on the topic of droids, like we see like two polar opposites. C-3PO is like, oh, my programming doesn't allow it. I know it's for the greater good, but my programming says no. And then that little like wheel droid had like some like abusive past or something, and that's why it like did all these things that are probably against its programming or whatever. Like, droids are just so like they make no sense. And sure, they're like different droids that are probably different backgrounds, but still, why do droids have all these random things? Why? It's because the plot that they dug themselves into a hole demanded it.
Yeah,
all these things that happen for no reason.
Like I don't even know why that thing would like trust anyone but its programmed master to do anything, Like, does that thing have the moral compass to know that Rey fixing its squeaky wheel is
An act of kindness.
worthy of him giving up his information? Like, I hate this movie. But I guess, that's a good segue into C-3PO not being able to... No, we gotta talk about the knife first, but then we gotta talk about how they got to the knife. Oh, man. Like, this movie is just rabbit trail after rabbit trail. So, they sink into the sand, which somehow the quicksand, like, has a roof. There's, like, a quicksand roof, like, it doesn't fall all the way.
Quick rock. Like,
yeah, it's also
weird. It's like gravel. They sunk into a pit of gravel.
Yeah, and then the gravel just stays up, and then there's like foot tall ceilings somehow, even though that stuff should be falling to the ground. I don't know. Which you'd think once they fall down, Rey could just move the sand up, create a hole, get out.
With the Force, like the Force can, like we talked about this earlier. The Force can do all these magical, wonderful things, but if the plot demands it, we can't use the Force. That's too easy.
Yeah, we can't think to use it when we're underneath some sand. So they walk around and they find the Sith assassin, like Ochi or something, I think is his name. They find his body, like of bones, that's been there for like 10 years, right next to this sandworm. I don't know what they're implying. Are they implying that he starved to death? Did the worm eat him?
That worm seems big enough that it wouldn't care about bones, I don't think.
Yeah, but like, how would the bones be in the skeletal order if the worm ate him? Like,
yeah, it doesn't need to make sense.
No,
we don't need to remember logic in this movie.
Yeah. And then so that leads them to find the knife, which, what a stupid knife! Like the inscribed on that knife are the directions to a cliff that you can hold the knife up to the edges of the second Death Star.
Assuming that no erosion has occurred on this second Death Star.
Yes. And to assume that the 300-foot tall waves aren't moving the wreckage at all, and to assume that the Death Star survived, and to assume that the Death Star happened to go to a different planet than the one that it was hovering over in Episode 6. And
I've got a little rant about these waves. They're the worst.
Yeah, let's just finish up the knife here real quick. So they find that is the knife that Ochi used to stab Rey's parents. I don't know why he's using that same knife. It seems like a very impractical weapon because it has a really short blade. Either way, it's got an inscription on it that has Sith language that tells them where to go. And
this language is bad.
Yes, it is a bad language.
It's a no-no. You can't use that language.
If you read it, you will be evil. Because the Republic doesn't let droids read Sith. Okay. Even if we accept that, which it's insanely idiotic that that's a rule in the first place, but if we were to accept the rule, 3PO can still read it, he just can't translate it. So, all he has to do is read it, point on a map to where to go.
Oh, it is. I did think of that, I just didn't fully solidify it. Yeah,
Also, why do you have to wipe his memory to
so that we can have the clickbait, the clickbait
also,
scene, Yeah.
Like, why, when you're wiping his memory, can you not do a backup on any droid? A droid smith can't
R2's backups are as unreliable as iCloud. I don't think that it's really a question.
But surely any droid or something could...
Yeah, of all people, the droid, the black market droid smith, he should have just a spare hard drive sitting around, just like, pew. But no.
Also, Poe just happens to know a black market droid smith. Sure.
Just what we need, in the most dangerous location for us to be possible.
Mm-hmm. Because he worked with it with some other person who he did spice running with. And the spice running.
Let's talk about spice running for a second. They talk about it like it's this like hilarious thing. It just sounds like they're just like smuggling drugs or something. And then like Poe is like a stormtrooper that used to work for the evil government people, and he's like, you did drug smuggling that's funny. Like, they're just laughing at him for like this random thing in his past, and just why it doesn't
And then
really add anything.
the whole thing that even starts it up too. Poe is like hot wiring a ship or like a speeder or something on Pisana. And then Finn asks, "How do you know how to do that?" And obviously that's supposed to be an allusion to Poe's spice running past or whatever. But like, why wouldn't he know how to do that? He's like the greatest pilot in the Resistance. Why would he not know how to hotwire a ship? Like, I don't know.
I'm kind of glad in this movie that they didn't like completely like forget the whole like Poe and Finn thing, because Poe and Finn had a little bit of chemistry in the seventh movie. But then they kind of play into it a little bit with their first scene in this movie, and then they just are kind of like awkward for the rest of the movie. So
yeah, I mean,
I feel like by this point in the trilogy, the characters should not be yelling at each other all the time. They should have a little bit of connection, but whatever.
Well, because that's the first time we see the three of them together in the third movie of the trilogy, and then JJ just has to act like they have years of history behind them as they're arguing about what to do with the Falcon and stuff. Like, you had. I
think part of it is they have too many plots going on at the same time throughout the whole trilogy. Like,
yeah, because they decided to separate all of them during 8.
In the both of the previous trilogies, we had a little bit of like cohesion and all the characters that are following mostly similar. Like, with the exception of like Luke going to Dagobah for a little bit, he eventually met up with everyone at the end. Like, most people like were either like working towards the other people throughout their stories, or they were with the other people.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I just don't know why they decided to separate the main 3 in all of episode 8. Like, not even the third act or half of the third act. They got to be. They all got.
Rey had to have her like Dagobah thing, right? Like that kind of had to happen.
Well, yeah.
But still, the whole like Finn, Rose. Oh yeah, they just ignore everything that happened last movie with Rose.
Yeah.
Same way how they ignore everything that happened in the previous movie with Finn and Rey.
Yeah.
What is it with Finn? Like, he's like James Bond. Like, there's all these different like maybe romantic situations going on. Like, it's just like they can't decide on anything. There's like, oh yeah, they're just friends, but then there's also this girl, and then like it just doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah. Okay, so his whole love life thing. Force Awakens, Rey, TLJ, wants it to be Rey, but then it becomes Rose for some reason.
And then it's like
TROS.
the deserter people in this movie, like for
TROS,
one scene,
Janna.
They connect over the
their past
stormtrooper thing, and then they're just fighting for the rest of the movie, so we don't get to see any of that. But then Rey and Finn are also kind of a thing in the 9th movie, like,
because he's wanted to tell Rey something, but as they're sinking into the sand, he's like, Rey, I never told you, Rey. And, like, I don't know about you, but I thought the implication there was, like, he wanted to tell her that he loved her.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes sense. But
JJ has, after the movie released, he said, no, Finn wanted to tell her that he was force sensitive. What? No. What?
Why would he want to tell her that as he's dying? That's
right before you're dying. Like, Rey, I have to tell you, right before we die, I know that you're going to consider this for 3 seconds, then we're going to be dead, but I'm force sensitive. Like, okay.
Yep.
And then
what stopped him from telling her that for the rest of that? It's not like an embarrassing, like, there's no harm in saying.
Poe was like, what were you going to tell her? And he's like,
Poe obviously still implying, like, along with the audience, actually doing something logical for a second, like.
I mean, yeah. And then.
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about those waves.
Okay, sure. Let's do that now.
As again, I'm a desert person who goes to the ocean occasionally, and I can say Rey's handling of the ocean is befitting of a desert person.
Oh yeah,
like
seriously,
she decides to ride straight up these interstellar waves that like no problem. Like IRL, you'd want to like dive through a wave like that. Or you probably just wouldn't want to deal with a wave like that, but you'd really want to dive through a wave, like instead of trying to go over. That ship looks like it could go through a wave and pop back up, but.
Or you just take the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, or yeah, and they broke that for some reason.
They said the
Just so
landing gear
that.
was broken, but you don't need to land. You can just hover over, have the person get out, and then go into the room. That's all you have to do. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and they say that the water is too dangerous. Like the local stormtrooper Jana, I think, yeah, says the water is too dangerous. Rey does it anyway because she's Rey. She can do anything. But a few minutes later, Jana and Finn are on the Death Star. So obviously the waters were fine because they got
Mhm.
there. So once
Yep.
again,
I
this movie just does not know how to hold itself together at all.
and I swear, like the color grading and like the textures on these waves were literally the same exact ones in Interstellar. Like the CGI waves that they do, like always look exactly like this. I and especially like the colors, that kind of like dark teal, just
Oh yeah, and kind
just
of a
way
little
too
bit
reminiscent
muted.
of Interstellar. Like,
Definitely. And yeah, now that you bring that up, like I can really see a lot of connections to Miller's Planet. I think it was like
mhm.
it's pretty.
A far better movie about space.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
quick
totally.
plug for our episode 4 of this show. Go watch that
Our
or listen
still
to
our
it. It's
longest
amazing.
episode.
It
Yep.
was amazing.
So
Uh,
where to now? I
oh yeah,
guess the Death Star.
Kylo kissing Rey was almost as awkward as Rose and Finn after all of their friends died, or they thought so. Why?
Because we need love in our film.
Every
I,
male and female character interaction has to be a romantic relationship. Fun fact in a Disney movie. So
and this is a payoff because these people have obviously had a long history of loving each other and being very happy
yes,
towards one
very
another.
supportive
Yes,
of
they
each
haven't
other.
been telling each other how they hate each other and
And then
fighting for
last
the
minute, you know what?
last
We're gonna
minute.
save her, and now we're friends.
Oh yeah, and we can
That's
just
so
do force
wholesome.
heal. That's just a thing.
I've
We
only
can
tried to
just
kill her
bring
like
people.
4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I guess that can transition into force heal. Why?
Oh
Why?
yeah. Because uh, that's
Because
the
we.
answer for like 90% of the questions in this movie. Because the plot says so.
Yeah, but what about like when Obi-Wan was holding a dying Qui-Gon in his arms? That might have been
Uh,
useful.
yeah,
What
maybe
about
that could have been.
Anakin
Except
to Padme
they
so
didn't
that
have they weren't as cool with the Force back then, despite having this giant league of Jedi armies. Like that was
ugh,
awesome.
yeah.
Like
How
they
did Rey
have all
learn?
these people in the Force. Why don't they have any of these like strong, innovative Force people now? That doesn't make sense.
How did Rey even learn it? I mean,
Well, Rey doesn't need to learn. She's just like built
she
different,
just
you know.
has she
Like
just knows how to.
sh-
Yeah, she's like
she's a
I mean
Palpatine, so
I mean she's so powerful that she can accidentally do force lightning. Like but I guess and more on the force healing. Remember when Poe got shot in the arm and then he just had a bandage for the rest of the movie?
yeah,
That might have been helpful for Rey to
yeah,
force heal
maybe
that up for him. Yeah.
that could have been nice. Oh yeah, we're talking about I think it was like the kind of off topic, but we're talking about like the irony with like not knowing that Chewie uh was alive. Now Hux in
Oh,
that
yep, that
scenario,
too.
like Hux is just kind of the traitor, not because like they planted him there or anything, and like he did all these things like committing mass genocide and basically being like space Hitler. No, 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 no. He just decided I don't like Kylo. You know that guy's the worst, and I'm gonna make him lose. Like,
Yes. He needs Kylo Ren to lose, so he is going to screw over the entire First Order.
which he seems to have like dedicated his like life to. He's like the most lame antagonist ever because he has like all this power, and the First Order was like his thing originally, and Kylo was just
Yeah.
kind of the Dark Lord in residence, and then Hux eventually just becomes this kind of like side character because Kylo is Kylo, and now he just doesn't care for the First Order, which he seems to have like basically built up, and he just is like, I don't like Kylo. I don't want to see you win. I just want to see him fail. I sound
Which
so dramatic.
I don't even know what. I don't think anything that Hux does has anything to do with making Kylo lose. Like, if the First Order loses, Kylo can still be super powerful with the Force and stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so
Like
dumb.
Yeah, that sums it up. So dumb. That is this
Yeah,
movie.
I mean,
I
yeah,
think we're
and
just
then
talking in circles now. Like we keep repeating the same thing because the plot said so.
well,
Like we
there are
could go
so
off for
many.
another 2 hours talking about these.
Yeah, there. I mean, there are just so many events in this movie that lead you to the same conclusion. This movie is terrible, and it is so dumb. I think that should be our title. Just
This
Rise of
movie is
Skywalker,
terrible and it
so
is so
dumb.
dumb and it's bad and I don't like it.
Yes, that I think that
That'd
works.
be amazing.
Okay. But it's a little more on Hux. I think he was a decent character in episode 7. You know, he was kind of competent, made some good decisions. He was a little bit annoying, like with how super like obnoxious he was, especially giving that speech before.
I thought the speech
Like
was actually really cool. Like he's kind of this like crazy like tyrannical leader, you know. I thought that was
yeah,
interesting.
I mean, it just seemed a little bit on the nose to me when all the troopers saluted at once. Like, okay, I got the imagery, but uh,
Uh,
yeah. Anyway, and then episode 8 made him a joke. So then JJ was just mad. Like, I want my Hux back. So he was like, okay,
Except he's
Ryan
a good
Johnson's.
guy now, kind of.
Yeah, so
No,
we're gonna take
really.
Ryan Johnson's Hux, make him a good guy, make him help our heroes, and then I'm just gonna make a new Hux. General Pride, you're in. Do what Hux did.
Yeah, that guy
Be
kind of came out of
in.
nowhere. Like
Well, yeah,
he's just
because
there.
JJ needed some intimidating villain that was like running operations for the First Order that wasn't Kylo. So he just
Hmm.
made another version of Hux, just a little bit older. Like I like General Pride for the most part. He was kind of
Yeah,
dumb at the end, but he was intimidating at least. So
things don't need to have any logical progression, and we don't need to have anything that makes sense.
logic, what's that?
I feel like this entire trilogy was just like the everyone just like saying screw you to the previous writer. You know what? Like I don't like what you did, so I'm gonna just put it in the shredder and like just
Mm-hmm.
make fun of it. The entire trilogy is just Hux, right? I think if we
Basically,
look at this entire trilogy from a satirical point of view, they purposely wrote bad movies and talked about how and like Hux was kind of like the medium to make the audience realize this on how they didn't like what the previous writer director did, so they just wrote a movie that kind of threw everything the previous movie did under the bus. I think it's like a brilliant piece of satire in this regard.
I like that theory.
Definitely should have way more Academy Awards.
Oh,
I couldn't see
totally.
a single reason why it doesn't.
It's a very
Um,
effective commentary on
mhm.
the state of
Very
modern
very
storytelling.
comedic, very
Yes.
ironic and comedic.
Yeah.
It's revolutionary in that sense. I loved it.
Oh shoot. Okay, I'm just trying to think of like what more there is because I know there's more. Um, let's see. We've already talked about that. I'm just scrolling through the timeline now, just finding. Okay, let's talk about Rey versus Kylo on the desert, where Kylo is flying the Tie Fighter at her.
Mhm.
Um, did you have anything that stood out?
The the why was she like facing away? Maybe to like try to surprise Kylo, like that maybe, but and also the edit that could have been an amazing like slightly less cool than the Lightspeed Ram. Like if they did one continuous like super slow motion shot, that would have been cool. But no, they had to have two cuts,
Yeah.
and of those three things, two of them had to be the same camera angle. So they could have done it with no cuts, but they didn't.
Oh, that I mean that's like the least of my issues. Like, I just what is
Like
Kylo's plan?
just to ram Ray
Does
because she's
does
bad.
does he want to kill her?
Uh, I think so. Like it's hard
Why
to
not
tell
shoot her?
because Kylo either really likes or really hates Ray, or both of them. And I don't know why the Emperor didn't read Kylo's mind. Like, can't they do that? Can't they like see like, oh, he wants to betray me? Can't they?
Sometimes they can. Well, I mean, we thought Snoke could.
When
He
it's
was saying that he
convenient,
could.
they can.
Yeah,
When it would cause issues for the plot, we can't do that.
definitely not. So I mean, okay, if Kylo wanted to kill Rey, all he had to do was fire the missiles from his Tie Fighter and shoot her.
But he
If he didn't want
decided
to kill
that
her,
his significantly faster and more effective just ramming his ship into her, that would be a lot more easy than
oh
the
yeah, totally.
precision aiming systems that
Yeah,
Why would he do
like why would you lock onto your target with all the technology that's in your fighter when you can just get
because the
some?
plot said so. It will be the most said phrase of this podcast because the plot says so.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and then some people might say, well, he didn't want to kill her, and in that
Then
case,
why
why
was
would
he
he
trying
try
to
to
ram into
ram
her?
her with? If he just wanted to talk to her, why wouldn't he just land there and talk to her?
Because the plot said so.
And then she jumps up. It's such a stupid move, but it looks cool, so whatever. And cuts off the wing.
No, it would have looked cool if they didn't pull Mulan, and anytime anyone does a black flip,
Oh,
do
Mulan.
like
Oh,
multiple
man.
cuts.
I don't know
That
if
was
it's
the
that.
worst edited movie of all time. Thanks,
I
Disney.
don't know if it was as bad as Mulan, but
You know the part of Mulan where she's like doing like a backflip thing with her staff, and it would have been awesome if they didn't have like 3 or 4 cuts, like
I think I
to
remember what you're
show
talking about. Yeah.
3 slightly different angles. Like,
So
it's the worst.
to get more, she cuts off the wing. Kylo is just spinning and rolling out of control, going like hundreds of miles an hour for all we know.
And he's
First
fine.
of all, you would think that would kill him. But then
Hey, they
after
probably have like really
rolling-
good safety systems, and like with all that
I mean-
missile technology, I'm sure the safety systems are a-okay on these. TIE
I don't
fighter
think the
things.
safety systems are good enough to resist a literal explosion. The VFX team, like they had to manually add in that explosion, and they chose to. How does he survive? An explosion? No. And then he comes out without a scratch. Like there's not even like.
Well, he's just Kylo Ren, you know. He's built different.
Well, but that's
plot
supposed to be
armor,
Rey.
but-
That's like survives everything. Not. Ugh. And then they start doing tug of war with a transport because they're that powerful. Why not?
Because it was written by a toddler, like we said. Like they're just
Yeah.
playing with their things in the sky, and that's what happens.
And then Rey gets mad and does force lightning on accident.
And then we're back to the
Oh,
whole
man.
Chewie debacle, and we're just same problems over and over again. That's the summary of this movie.
Yeah, I
A
mean,
lot
but
of-
the problem with Rey, like, how on earth, like, why would they make her? Isn't that only a Sith power? Like, how does she?
Well, she's a
Oh.
Palpatine, you see.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't make
That
you
makes sense.
bad. And then
Of course
were they
it
trying to
does.
say like she can't control herself, or she can't control her strength, or whatever? I don't know.
Everything happens in the most illogical manner possible because this movie had no like cohesion in production, no
Definitely.
like cooperation between any of the associated parties. It was just a failed attempt of fan service and spectacle that culminated into an incoherent, illogical waste of my time.
That's pretty accurate, man.
That is my thesis statement for this movie.
Nice.
I
Oh.
improv that, actually.
I
I
like
didn't
it.
think I was going to say that.
Well,
On that note, should we talk about ratings, or do we have anything more about this hot garbage?
I could go on. Dude, we've hardly even brushed the surface of the third act.
We could go on, but do we want to?
Dude,
It's
I
just
want to
the
get
same
some of
thing.
it. It's so funny though. It's hilarious how bad. Okay, let's just do the third act. Like, there's a little bit more I could talk about, like the Knights of Ren and stuff on Kajimi, but let's just third act. Let's just do a little bit on it. Okay, I'll start it with the Force Ghost Luke scene, where Rey is throwing the lightsaber into the fiery TIE fighter because she's so distraught that she can't do what she needs to do. So Luke reaches out as a Force Ghost, catches the lightsaber in midair.
If the Force Ghosts can interact physically, why didn't they send in like the entire Jedi army from the like original trilogy to go fight in the final battle? That would have been epic. It would have been like the most egregious use of fan service of all time, but it would have been epic.
I mean, it would have looked cool, but it wouldn't have made any sense at all. Like, this is actually a problem that started in TLJ, like when Force Ghost Yoda was able to summon lightning to blow up the island, or blow up the tree on the island. Like, I mean, if he was able to do that, why wouldn't he show up at the Emperor's throne room in Episode 6, shoot lightning at him, boom, he's dead, he's good. Do that to Snoke in Episode 8, boom, you're good. Luke, show up to Episode 9, to Palpatine in Episode 9, do that, boom, you're good. Like, first of all of that is, like, just garbage. And then JJ actually carries that on to this, where Luke is able to catch a lightsaber and raise the X-Wing out of the water with Yoda's theme.
For fan service, to complete his whole arc with the X-Wing.
Which makes it even worse that in Episode 8 he didn't show up. Because if
he had to do it, like, after he died.
Yeah. If that X-Wing was... I thought the X-Wing might have been waterlogged, and that's why he wasn't able to show up. But no. That thing is functional, apparently. Okay, so now...
Almost as crazy as, like, the one ship on that planet, the desert planet.
Yeah, if not worse, because it's been eroding underwater. At least the other one was just sitting out in the desert in dry air for the most part. But and then she goes to Exegol, is just able to send her coordinates to the rest of the Resistance, so they don't need the magical triangle. That's convenient. And then we see the 10,000 Star Destroyers. Because we need stakes, you know? It wasn't enough to have a giant Death Star that was the size of a planet. Those stakes aren't high enough.
If the fake Palpatine clone can make all these Star Destroyers, why didn't the real one do that, huh? Like,
how did he
why
make
is the
them?
fake clone, whatever he is, why is he more powerful than the real Palpatine?
Because we need stakes. But how did he make them?
The dark side of the Force has many things that people would consider unnatural. I don't remember the exact quote, but you get the idea.
The dark side of the Force has many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Yeah, but I honestly, like, there's no explanation whatsoever. There's no way they got resources from that planet. That planet is just it's just lightning and rocks. That's all it is. So, don't know where he got the resources. Don't know where he got all the people. I honestly think that these scriptwriters would say he conjured them with the Force. I honestly think that's what they would say.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then, they don't... They all have planet-destroying weapons because stakes, you know, you gotta crank them up, make it harder.
Every single movie of every single trilogy, you gotta have the Death Star. Okay, that was something. It can destroy planets. Then you got the better Death Star Part 2. It can destroy planets. And then you got, like, the planet-destroying planet. It can destroy planets. And then you got the ships, and there's tons of them, and they destroy planet. I'm sensing, like, a pattern here.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's going to happen next? Like, we had 10,000 Death Stars.
They're going to destroy planets?
Like, is it going to be a galaxy that can just go around and destroy other galaxies? Like, honestly.
Okay, if they want to rule the galaxy, why are they destroying the entire galaxy?
Exactly. Yes. Like, why would he want to just destroy every free world? Like
didn't they, like, get rid of Coruscant? Doesn't it have, like, literally hundreds of billions of people on it? If you're going to rule a planet, why'd you destroy the one with the most people? Yeah, in Episode 7.
I don't think that was Coruscant. I think it was just a planet that really looked like it.
Just a big city planet with billions of people.
Yeah, sure. And we see 15 of them. And okay. But he makes these amazing Star Destroyers, but they can be destroyed by 2 bombs that shoot at the cannon.
I'm sensing a pattern here. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's like they do the same thing year after year, movie after movie. It's the same trope that I'm not tired of at all. I love it.
But they don't have the same excuses as the original trilogy. Because in Episode 6...
They wouldn't consider a small one-man fighter to be a threat.
Mm-hmm. And Palpatine intentionally put a weakness in the one in Episode 6 as a trap to lure all the fighters in.
So
that he could blow them up because it's fully functional. This one, though, no, we need to raise the stakes incredibly high, but we also need a way for our heroes to overcome those stakes. So they're cranked way up, and then they are just slammed right back to the floor when you find out these ships do not have shields in atmosphere.
Yeah, that's something.
So, if they don't have shields in atmosphere, that's not true, because in episode 5, the Rebel base has a shield in atmosphere. In this exact movie, the tread bikes that the First Order uses on Pasana have shields. So, shields work in atmosphere. But, if we were to even accept that shields don't work in atmosphere, why would Palpatine not make sure all of them get out first before having all the fighters come? Before announcing your plan to the entire galaxy?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because the plot said so,
Oh, shoot.
I know I keep saying it, but it's true. Did
you know that Palpatine's... They reference Palpatine's message in the opening crawl? Did you know that was in Fortnite?
Wait, excuse me? Did you just say the FN word? I
am not joking. If I can find...
Do I want to know?
Oh my gosh, this is... So this recording is from the game Fortnite, a special event that was held for the Rise of Skywalker. I'm not joking. If I can find it, I am going to play it.
Why do they always do Fortnite events for everything? Like, Ariana Grande music video is one thing. Tenet is another thing.
Okay, here, I'm going to play it.
At last the work of generations is complete. The great error is corrected. The day of victory is at hand. The day of revenge. The day of the Sith.
That is in the game Fortnite.
Wow.
That's how they announced Palpatine's return.
You mind sending that to me afterwards so I can edit it into the audio?
Yeah, I will for sure do that.
Okay.
I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. That is the point we're at now.
That everything has become such a marketing scheme to just get you to do all the things.
Yeah, I mean it's just insane at this point.
I'm just done with this trilogy. I want to talk about a good movie,
Yeah, we'll get to that next week. Man, I mean, there's so much more. Do we want to talk about a little bit about Rey and Palpatine's confrontation, if you can call it that, in the third act?
Okay, I want to talk. I definitely would like to talk about. That is actually a very paradoxical thing that they built for themselves. You can't kill the Emperor because then you're evil and you become the Emperor. But wouldn't it be a good thing to do to kill the Emperor? In the sixth movie, it made sense because Vader was there, right? But then killing the Emperor with the Emperor's own lightning is still killing the Emperor. You cause that to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Intentionally.
But he's fine. She's fine. She's not. He doesn't go into her because, why would you need?
What is it with the Emperor's obsession with strike me down and your journey will be complete? Why do you have to be killed to succeed? That's just dumb.
I mean, yeah. Well, because they have to reference episode 6, but it doesn't work the same way, so they have to find a different way to work it out. So they say, my spirit will pass into you if you kill me. Oh no, she's going to give in to the dark side, even though she's one of the purest, most wonderful characters we've seen in all of this series.
Luke, we even saw a little weakness in Luke. We all know that he wasn't going to give in, but Luke kind of considered it for a second.
And
Rey is just too benevolent. Yeah, he did
force
something.
Choked
the
guards in episode 6. When they didn't do anything to attack him, he had threatened Jabba's life. He said, bow to my wishes or you will die. There's already some gray area there.
Luke's kind of already Luke's kind of already a reform. I don't know what you'd say. He wants to reform the Jedi or whatever. Luke's kind of a rebel, I guess, but that's fitting to his character. But yeah, Rey, it doesn't make sense.
Well, because, yeah, what's the worst thing she's done? Accidentally use a Sith power when trying to save one of her friends? Like, okay, that's not really a threat of going to the dark side, but...
Like, all the conflict in this movie is fake, and all the opportunities for real conflict are squandered. Like, Rey could have considered it, and we could have had, like, hints earlier, but no. We have to have Chewie's maybe dead, but then he's not 30 seconds later. And C-3PO has to lose his memory, but then he's fine. Like,
well, yeah, because then it gets restored. It cuts to him saying, like he's saying his units are famously reliable, it'll never work, and then it does a hard cut to him being restored. Like, okay, very funny film. Congratulations.
I'm just done.
Dude, this is like, there's so much. Like,
it's to the point where I'm not even enjoying it anymore. It's just this. I'm just perpetually in a bad mood because of this movie.
Dude, I just got to the point where they bring out space horses on the top of a Star Destroyer.
Okay, why did they? We're just spiraling down this rabbit hole for ages, and it makes no sense.
They transported horses from a ship to put onto the surface of another ship, and they landed like a mile away from their targeted area.
You get like anything you want, and you choose the space horses because you got to reference the.
And then, if you're General Pride and you have almost the entire rebel faction on the side of your ship, do you think it might be helpful to, I don't know, tilt the ship so that they all fall off?
Or just like self-destruct the ship or something. Like they have so many,
like abandon
and that are piloted by no one
self-destruct.
apparently. Just no, we don't care.
Well, okay, I guess they can't self-destruct the ship because they need the antenna to work. Because I can't believe I haven't mentioned this yet. These ships, all 10,000 of these Star Destroyers, I believe it's 10,000, it might be 1,000. Point still stands. All of them cannot tell which way is up without these towers activated, or without these antennas activated.
That seems like a fatal weakness that Palpatine would think of.
Yes. Like, there's literally a line, Nav cannot tell which way is up out there. Like, so...
I guess up doesn't exist in space, but, like, still.
Well, okay, so these things are facing down. They were raised up by Palpatine. He used the Force to raise all 10,000 Star Destroyers. Yeah, okay. So they were raised up. They were on the ground, right? So that they went up there. Just keep going that direction. But no, because we need a final battle. So, and then why they don't put an antenna on every ship for some reason? They have one antenna on the ground. Why is that antenna exposed? Why wouldn't they put it like under the shipyard or something?
Because
or maybe it was under the shipyard, but then Palpatine rammed every single ship through the ground of the shipyard, so it exposed that. Maybe that's what happened. But I just love the idea that Pride is the only way. Like he is the ship that knows how to go up. So if they take his ship down, no other ships can go up, and they are stuck. That's what the third act rests on.
Yeah,
man. Okay, there's
we've
so
gone
much
on
more,
long
but
enough. I'm so tired of this movie.
Should we just talk about the last scene where she calls herself a Skywalker, and then call the episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
She. I think it's a cool idea. Kind of pay homage to Luke. She is renounced her Palpatinism and is like, you know what? I'm a Skywalker now. That's cool. I don't really feel strongly about it either way. It's cool.
I am not okay with it at all. I hate the idea that, first of all, okay, she goes back to Luke's childhood home, and you would think that place would be like galaxy known at this point because it's the hero of the galaxy that lived there. But never mind. It's just
according to this trilogy, there's not anyone that supports the Resistance until the final battle. So,
well, but
maybe
that's BS anyway, because that's like everyone should know who Luke Skywalker is. That's a Force Awakens problem. But Rey buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers for some reason, so she takes Luke and Leia's legacies, buries it in the dirt, proceeds to take their name after all the other Skywalkers are dead, and Rey Palpatine is the one that lives on, stealing the Skywalker name, and that's how the saga ends.
Yeah,
that's
whatever.
What we got. And then she calls herself a Skywalker after kissing a Skywalker. Like, well, not. It's a little bit.
That's not
iffy,
weird at all.
No, not at all.
Disney, all right. Disney has done like far more questionable things, so I'm not even like, I don't even have a considerable problem with that. But
I don't have like an actual moral problem. I just find it hilarious. Like, what were? I mean, okay. I think.
Aw, you. It's like an aw, you. Just like.
I am just, my head is just in my palms right now. Like,
I give it a solid D-.
Yeah, D-, if not F.
I'm done.
Is it worse than TLJ?
Yes. TLJ actually had some good stuff going for it. Should we talk about the trilogy? Should we do a trilogy ranking? I think TLJ is my favorite. Force Awakens, second best. Rise of Skywalker, of course, is at the bottom of this pit of despair. I hate it.
Mm-hmm. Well, TFA is going to be my top. Man, I still have a lot of trouble deciding between TLJ and Tross.
Okay, let me make the case for TLJ. It had some good parts. This movie had nothing.
I mean,
there was a logical plot progression throughout the entire Rise of Skywalker, and that was only half of The Last Jedi, right?
Might be a little bit more, but I see what you're saying. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess actually Luke and Rey's plot actually mostly makes sense. It's just the characterization that I had a problem with. So, I think, okay, Rise of Skywalker has a higher frequency of issues. Like, there's no doubt about that. I think I still just think TLJ is more offensive and more damaging to the franchise as a whole. Mm-hmm. So I would rank it.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. It's just in terms of watchability, like, this movie's possible to watch and make fun of every single thing that happens. And The Last Jedi takes itself seriously in enough spots where it can, like, Luke's different monologues. Most of what happens on Luke's island is actually pretty powerful, and I enjoyed it at least. So that's the main difference I find.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put TLJ just ever so slightly below Rise of Skywalker. Just because I think the degree of the issues is a lot higher. Like, Rise
so you're saying that, like, there's a lot more issues in Rise of Skywalker, but they're not nearly as, like, dramatic as those in TLJ.
Yeah. So
okay.
And then, like, watchability, like, I would throw on Rise of Skywalker before TLJ. Like, it's just so fun.
Well, I wouldn't throw on any of these movies in the first place, but
definitely. If I had to choose between the two, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that
sums it up.
What a depressing end to Star Wars.
Painfully, not even like mediocre, just painfully painful. Just pain.
I mean, yeah, that's about right. Can't wait for episode 10. I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen.
I sure hope they don't do that. I just want episode 7, like, a retry. Just scrap these multi-million-dollar movies.
I don't think I want Disney doing anything else with Star Wars, especially not the main line. So I think just get rid of these movies, like, take them out of the canon, and then I'll be good. I'll be happy.
Just, like, pull like a Kanye or George Lucas and just, like, edit it afterward. Like
special editions of the sequel trilogy.
Special edition, which is actually just a completely different movie. Like, didn't George Lucas, like, change the original tapes, like, 5 times or something?
Probably, yeah.
And, like,
I like
Kanye's, like, changed Donda, like, 4 or 5 times. Like, all these major things just have major changes for no reason.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I like the idea of just sequel trilogy special editions, or like even like
They
a
just
Lucas
fix
cut
everything.
of the trilogy, and it's just
A director's cut of Rise of Skywalker might actually be interesting if they actually did
That was
production on
rumored.
all of the long parts.
yeah, it was rumored to be a thing, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll pull like a Snyder cut with it. I doubt it, but that'd be interesting to see. But
I want a Snyder cut for Endgame. That would be amazing. I know you probably don't care so much for Endgame as much, but like
I haven't.
'cause-
Yeah,
yeah.
but-
That movie is like a 3.5 hour movie that could have been 6 hours. Like, and
yeah.
there's so many director cuts that could be. Like, I wish Nolan did director cuts. That'd be awesome. Like,
For sure.
definitely a lot of Marvel movies could use director's cuts. But
Yeah,
oh well.
yeah. I mean, a JJ
This
cut
is
would
the
still probably be
most-
terrible, but
This is the most like discontent I've been after one of these Star Wars videos. Like,
oh, seriously, yeah. I mean,
it's just
like, I thought I'd be more depressed after recording TLJ, but just I don't know. I think it's just because this was such a terrible end.
for the two people listening, we're subjecting ourselves to like trauma for you, okay?
Yes, and I am.
You should be grateful.
I am watching these films. Just the visuals play along, so that I know what to reference. I am watching them as we record. I'm at the part where Rey turns on her yellow lightsaber right now. Like, ugh, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, as always, to the Julian Raider
Oh
for
yes,
supporting us.
for sure. Let us know what you thought of the sequels. If you have anything nice to say about them, that'd be interesting. But to think I liked this movie on my first viewing, I am ashamed of myself. I liked this on my first viewing.
I just kind of walked out of the theater. Like, I think I saw it like on Christmas Eve, I think. And I was like, you know what?
Sad.
That was something that I'm gonna regret for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah. Oh gosh, I just saw the stupid double sunset. I just want to call it. All right, I'm turning this off. I can't do this.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. We're done.
D-, terrible. Don't watch it. Screw Disney. Stop making Star Wars. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
I like the idea of just. I like the idea of just ending it with that super informal hard cut. That'll be good.